Hello and welcome. I'm Siska Becker. Majority of countries, if not all countries, need investment, either from domestic or foreign sources, to finance their development program. TVRI World has a special program titled Ambassador Press Club, which is aimed at digging up potential investment from countries across the globe interested in putting their money into development programs and projects in Indonesia. For our program today, we are looking into the possibility of inviting business communities from Russia to invest in Indonesia. And for that, I have very special guests joining me in the studio today. We'd like to welcome the Russian ambassador to Indonesia, Her Excellency, Madam Lyudmila Vorobieva. Good morning, Madam.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We also have the honor of having Mr. Alexander Svinin, Trade Representative of the Russian Federation in the Republic of Indonesia.
Thank you so much.
Good morning to you too.
Good morning to you too.
To both of you, let me just say Dobry dzień. Did I say that correctly?
Dobry dzień.
Dobry dzień.
Very happy and honored to have both of you here. And we also have a very special guest joining us online via Zoom, Mr. Teuku Rezashah, lecturer on international relations, Pajajaran University. Good morning, Mr. Teuku Rezashah. Thank you for joining us.
Terima kasih. Good morning to you, Your Excellency. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'm very looking forward to having a fruitful discussion with all of you today. But before that, before we talk about the Indonesian and Russian bilateral relationship in accordance to Indonesia as the ASEAN Chair of 2023, I would like to invite all of you and our viewers to watch this following video.
Russia is home to some of the world's most stunning landscapes. The country is full of incredible scenery, intriguing history, and some of the world's most peculiar places. From the coast of the Black Sea to the mountains of Siberia, Russia just has so much to offer. For our first location, we're going to head to the Kamchatka Peninsula. Now this may be one of the most wild and beautiful places in all of Russia. It's a sea-battered land dotted with over 160 volcanoes. It's basically Russia's version of Iceland with a little bit of Alaska. The volcanic peninsula is home to bears, killer whales, and some of the most stunning places I've ever seen. The largest active volcano on the peninsula in all of Eurasia is there. I won't even try to pronounce it. It stands an impressive 4,750 meters tall. The capital of the peninsula is Petropavlovsk. It's an impressive city that is dwarfed over by massive volcanoes. There are no roads from mainland Russia that lead to Kamchatka, so the best way to get there is by plane. I think this may be one of the most beautiful yet undiscovered places in the world. After Kamchatka, we're going to head over to Siberia. Siberia is just this massive region. It makes up more than 3/4 of Russia's land area, but only about 25% of Russia's population lives there due to its remoteness and harsh weather. One of the craziest places in Siberia and all of Russia is Lake Baikal, located in the southern part of Siberia. Lake Baikal is the largest freshwater lake in the world. It contains more than 20% of all the world's fresh water. I mean, take that in for a second. It's also the world's deepest lake with a depth of 1,642 meters. It's home to one of the only freshwater sills. During the winter months, the ice can freeze to be 2 meters thick. One of the easiest ways to get across is with a hoverboat, or you can have a winter workout and ice skate on the world's largest ice rink.
What a gorgeous video that shows us the vast landscape of Russia. Madam Ambassador, after seeing that video, did any of those places maybe remind you of your favorite place in Russia? Is there a top destination for you as well in there?
You'll be laughing, but I've never been to these places. But that's the fate of the diplomat, of course. You visit so many places in foreign countries, you don't have time to travel across your own country. I've been to Lake Toba, but I've never been to Lake Baikal, which is 10 times bigger. So that's my dream.
Okay.
When I retire, I'll be sure to visit Lake Baikal, Siberia, Kamchatka. Have you been there?
Yeah, I'm not so much your diplomat, so I had a chance to visit some these beautiful places, and Lake Baikal is one of the really most beautiful places in our country. And 6 years ago, even I did the Baikal Ice Marathon.
Wow.
Yes, I ran 42 kilometers from one Russian region to another, only by the lake.
Wow.
And I invited your Minister of Creative Economy and Tourism to join us next year and to do this this very beautiful marathon. It's a
Wow.
great experience, and you have to visit it and to see it.
Yes, but Santiago is indeed a marathoner. That would
Yes,
be a
yes,
very
yes,
interesting
yes,
experience
yeah,
for
yeah.
him.
Yeah, that's why when we met, I told him that you should join. If you want to understand Russia and if you want to see the Siberia, it's the best way to do this Ice Baikal Marathon.
Okay, very
Well,
interesting.
I can add that, as you know, Russia is the biggest country in the world,
Yeah.
and we have so many places that are worth visiting. You know that the surface of Russia equals to the surface of planet Pluto.
Wow.
17 million square kilometers.
An entire planet.
An entire planet. So Russia is a civilization in
Yeah.
itself, and I think that's what we have in common with Indonesia.
Okay.
Indonesia is also very diverse. There's so many places to see, and that's why Russian tourists just love Indonesia.
Yeah. Okay, so if I ask you, based on your experience traveling Russia, what would be the #1 top destination for Indonesian tourists who've never visited Russia before? For example, myself.
If you are visiting Russia for the first time, my
Yes.
advice would to go to Moscow and St. Petersburg and
okay.
spend not less than 3 days in each city. You know, Moscow is a very beautiful and unique place. It's the capital of Russia, and St. Petersburg is the old capital.
Yeah.
You know, like Indonesia, we also played this game of moving capitals.
Yeah.
So from Moscow to St. Petersburg and
Okay.
back. And St. Petersburg is one of the most beautiful cities in Europe.
Yeah, with one of the most beautiful palaces. There are still visited. Many palaces.
Many palaces.
Yeah.
There are palaces inside the city, and there are 5 sumptuous summer palaces
Okay.
that were used as residences for our rulers in the outskirts of St. Petersburg. They've been destroyed during World War II, but
Okay.
now they have been restored to their former glory, and it's a must.
Okay, I'm already making my itinerary right now as you are speaking. Okay, Madam Ambassador, could you please now tell us what is the history of our bilateral relationship, and including now in 2023, what is the current relationship like, especially now that Indonesia is the chair of ASEAN 2023? Would that have an impact on our relationship between Indonesia and Russia?
Absolutely. Actually, the history of our relation is quite long. We've officially established our diplomatic relations 73 years ago on the 3rd of February. But even before that, we had contacts. For instance, our last emperor, Nicholas II, visited Indonesia, at that time Batavia, Jakarta,
okay.
when he was crown prince.
All right.
But especially our relationship flourished during the times of President Sukarno,
Yeah.
who visited our country 4 times, and the song Rayuan Pulau Kelapa has been translated into Russian. It became very popular in Russia. In the last 3 decades, we've seen a steady growth of our relationship in many areas, including, first of all, trade and economy. Of course, we've enjoyed a very active political dialogue. We've seen growth of our, especially before COVID happened, tourist exchanges, cultural exchanges. We hope that this will be restored to
Yeah.
the pre-COVID times. And of course, we supported priorities of Indonesia as the chair president of the G20 last year. And we really appreciate the wonderful job done by Indonesia. And we wish you the same success as the chair of ASEAN. Russia is a strategic partner with ASEAN, so of course we're looking forward to working closely with Indonesia to boost our relationship not only on a bilateral level but between Russia and ASEAN as a whole.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. Now, you mentioned that one of the strongest ties between our countries in economic terms, economic relationship. How do you see this progressing? Is there any way of, advancing and expanding the relationship between Indonesia and Russia in economic terms, in economic relationship?
Well, absolutely. I think the potential is great, though last year we've seen growth of our bilateral trade by 30%, correct me if I'm wrong, and it reached more than 3.5 billion US dollars, so of course it's not enough. If we consider a combined population of more than 400 million people, we can do much more. And again, Russia is a part of the Eurasian Economic Union, which comprises 4 other members, so we can do a lot together, and we have so much to offer each other. Our economies are, they're not competing, they're complementing each other. I think Mr. Alexander can say a lot more on this issue. But of course, I think despite all the geopolitical tensions and the difficulties that we see right now, the future is quite bright for our economic relations.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to follow up to Mr. Alexander. So maybe you can tell us more in which sectors are like the most promising and has the most potential, and so far, how has it been with Indonesia and Russia in economic terms? Which sector has been most productive?
Okay, thank you so much for your question. I think that I have to start with the ASEAN-Russia relationships. And 2 years ago, our bilateral trade with Russia and ASEAN countries reached more than 20 billion USD. And as a country and as a government, we recognize ASEAN countries and ASEAN region as one of the most fast-growing region in the world. And we understand that the largest economy in ASEAN is Indonesia. So we hope that this year and after this year, we will have more potential projects and partnerships between our entrepreneurs and companies. So we have great and huge potential. And last year we did, as Madam Ambassador said, we did more than 3.5 billion USD in bilateral trade. And it's very important that our bilateral trade between Russia and ASEAN and Russia and Indonesia is very diversified. It's not only about commodities. It's about different types of industries, directions and companies, and it's very important. It's much more important than the numbers or figures. The structure of bilateral trade, because if we see on our countries, we really can be complement to each other. You have commodities, we have commodities, but we have to go not only to sell commodities to each other. We have to go further and make more partnerships in industrial development. We have to make products together and then go to other markets. And of course, the most important sectors for us in bilateral trade with Indonesia is agriculture. Palm oil is today takes the most number of Indonesian import to Russia. Of course, it's very important metals, different types of them, both ways, from Russia to Indonesia, from Indonesia to Russia. The third part is very important, is machinery and special equipment for industrial development. We have some Russian companies already that have already had very successful stories on Indonesian market, like Kamaz, for example, Chetra. It's a small company from a small city in the middle of Russia, but they have already clients here in Indonesia. And the fourth one is very important for us, is innovation and technologies. Russia is well known as one of the most well-developed country in IT and technology development. And Indonesia have the same, and we see the huge potential of Indonesian innovation market.
Mr. Teuku Reza Shah, maybe you can also tell us, our viewers especially, with the history of Indonesian and Russian relationship, could you tell us what are the high points of those relationships, and what do you think are the factors that have made the relationship somewhat, fluctuative in times? What do you think, Mr. Teuku Reza Shah?
Well, if some experts call our current relationships as rise and fall, but in my opinion, it is rise and static, and it is going to rise again, because the Russian good name remains there in Indonesia. I agreed with the statement by Ibu Duta Besar Lyudmila Verobieva, saying that we need to see history. Because Russia was among, at the time, Soviet Union was among the first country to recognize Indonesian independence, and since then we have embassy in Moscow and also in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg And also, both countries are member of Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, G20, and Russia is a good dialogue partner for ASEAN and also Indonesian strategic partner. We had a good bilateral relation signed when Ibu Megawati was the president of Indonesia. And to be honest, most Indonesians have a favorable view of Russia because in our mind, Russia remains a superpower. We admire Russian ballet and classical movies, Russian space technology, Russian academic tradition, Russian people of attitude of hard work, and especially Russia in the past, Soviet Union, today Russia, was the top achievers in the Olympics. And we admire the Russian transition towards greater democratization. So when I visited Russia in early 2000, I was amazed seeing the Russian cities where excellent architecture of the cities stand hand in hand with the green surroundings. Well, if we go to Russia, the good name of Indonesia remains there. People know the name Bung Karno, Sukarno, and the generation of my parents cannot forget when Russia supported Indonesian fight against the Dutch and the Soviet and the United States didn't manage to operate all requirements under North Atlantic Treaty Organization principles. And for me, who are commuting between Bandung and Jakarta, if I see the roads in Jakarta, I admire. There are statues made by the Russian, for example, the Tugu Tani, and then Tugu Pembebasan Irian Barat, and then I can still witness Rumah Sakit Persahabatan or the Friendship Hospital, and also the Bung Karno Stadium in the heart of Jakarta. So in this case, I'm quite optimistic that since the signing of the strategic partnership between our two countries, relationship improve, especially at the level of people to people, business to business, and then campus to campus. And in this case, I sincerely hope that the relationship improve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reza Shah, for your illustrative answer. And thank you also for sharing some personal stories as well. We appreciate that. I'd love to talk more with you about the bilateral relationship between Indonesia and Russia, but that's coming up next because now we're going to take a little break. Don't go anywhere. Ambassador Press Club will be right back.
Moscow is situated in western Russia, close to the country's border with the Ukraine, Belarus and Estonia. Lying on the Moskva River, it is the country's capital and its largest and richest city. Moscow holds a special place in the world's imagination. Opulent, spectacular and grandiose, Moscow has been at the epicenter of some of the history's most pivotal moments. It echoes with stories of triumph, tragedy and innovation. Stories of legendary tsars and literary greats, political revolutions, and the international space race that changed the world forever. Today, Moscow continues to fascinate. Thoroughly modern and with a European air, it has a population of more than 11 million people, the world's highest concentration of billionaires, and an attitude befitting one of the world's great cities.
We just saw together a video that gave us a virtual guide through Moscow, the capital of Russia. Madam Ambassador, could you now tell us more about Moscow, maybe something that we don't know? Because before the program started, I was talking to the ambassador and also to Mr. Svirnin about how terrible the traffic is in Jakarta. And both of you said, well, the traffic is also quite bad in Moscow as well. That is something I didn't know about Moscow. It's a vibrant city filled with many people. Maybe you can tell us more, illustrate us, please, about Moscow.
Yes, absolutely. Moscow is a fantastic city, and it has changed a lot in the last 20 years. It has become, to my mind, one of the most comfortable cities in Europe. Yes, the traffic is quite bad, especially in winter when it snows. And Moscow is quite cold, by the way.
Yeah.
It can be as cold as -30 in January or
Minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Yes,
Wow.
but life goes on as
Yes.
usual. Maybe the children of primary school, they don't go to school, but otherwise
okay.
people go to work. The
right.
public transportation system is still working, shops open, etc., etc. But of course, though the traffic can be really bad, we have a wonderful underground transportation system. We call it Metro, and it keeps expanding. Actually, just recently we've opened a second circular line that goes around Moscow, and it will help many of millions of commuters to reach their offices and their homes quicker. Also, it's very beautiful, and it's one of the oldest in Europe, I believe. We started to build it in the 30s. And some of the stations are like museums.
Yes.
And they have also special significance. For instance, there is one metro station that is near Moscow University, and and there is a statue of a border guard with his dog. And all the students, before their exams, they go to the station and they rub the nose of the dog.
That's adorable.
It brings luck, during the exam. So if you go there, you can see that the nose is very shining because thousands of students go and rub the nose. But otherwise, Moscow never sleeps. It's like, I would say it's more like an Asian city that, you know, you can eat 24 hours, you can shop 24 hours. It's very vibrant and it's very safe.
Yes.
Yes, it's very safe.
A few of my friends visited Moscow actually a few years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. And they went and used that metro train system that you mentioned, and they showed me pictures of it. It was so beautiful. It wasn't at all like a subway station. It was more like a beautiful palace or museum with chandeliers.
Absolutely.
And paintings, all these grand paintings plastered on the walls. Does this tell that the Moscow people or Russian people in general have this immense love for the arts? Is that a characteristic of Moscow people, you think?
Oh yes, absolutely. Not for culture, for art, we have this history of cultural traditions, of world-renowned artists, beginning from music. Like only a couple of days ago, I've been to the Aula Symphonia concert of Rachmaninoff. Now we're celebrating the anniversary. It's the very famous Russian composer. Tchaikovsky, of course, and many others, the ballet. In Moscow, there is more than 150 theaters. So you can visit every night. You can go see a show. There's so many museums, art galleries, so you will never be bored in Moscow.
Wow, I look forward to coming and especially to rubbing the nose of the dog in the subway station near Moscow University. Okay, now back to Mr. Svinin. I would love to talk more about Russia's investment plan in Indonesia. Maybe you could tell us like a general assessment of what the 5 next years will be between Indonesia and Russia
regarding
in terms
the
of investment plan.
Thank you so much again. I think it's very interesting that Moscow, back to your previous question, has very strong ties with Jakarta.
Yes.
And it's not very. It's very similar cities as we discussed before, before the show today. And I think that Moscow is a great mix of future, history, and modern and contemporary things. And creative economy. Back to your question about investment plan. Creative economy is very important to Moscow as well. And even this year, we will bring some Russian companies from creative economy industry to Jakarta to show them to potential buyers here. And we bring some buyers from Russian side here to Indonesia to buy some content, video, films, TV shows and series to be broadcasted in Russia. It's very interesting for us to exchange our content between two countries. And we, as I said, previously we really believe in innovation and technologies as our further step. About the investment plan, of course, the first one is you know that we have some very interesting projects in oil industry here in Indonesia. The largest one is the mutual project between Rosneft and Pertamina.
Okay.
And we hope that this project will go further, and we believe in good and interesting income for both sides,
Yeah.
and outcome from this project. The second interesting thing is, as we discussed before, manufacturing. We're interested in bringing more Russian companies here with their technologies, find partners locally, and build mutual manufacturing or industrial plants together. I think it can have a great potential. The third one is agriculture, back to our main sectors between our countries. And we see some interesting requests from Russian companies to come here again, to come to Indonesia, to find opportunities. And we had a great meeting with your Ministry of Investments 2 weeks ago, and we discussed how we can combine Russian technologies in agriculture with the huge potential of agriculture production of Indonesia. And I hope that we will see some new projects in this area as well. The fourth one is IT and technology. I think you can see on Jakarta roads every day Taksi Maxim brand.
Yeah.
It's a Russian company. Again, it's a company from a very small city with a population of 300,000 people.
Yeah.
But this company is quite effective and successful here in Indonesia. And they have 1 million rides per day.
Wow.
On the Indonesian market.
Yes.
May I add also
Yes, please,
another
Madam
area, energy, of course. Energy, of course, and even nuclear energy. And don't get scared about nuclear energy. You know, Russia is very rich in oil and gas, but 20% of our electricity is generated by nuclear facilities. And we don't have any public opposition to that, because the new technologies that we have, and we do have these technologies, are 5 times safer than, say, Fukushima, which is an old American project. So also we have this experience in cooperation with foreign partners. Now we have around 10 projects in other countries, including Asia, for constructing nuclear facilities. So when and if your government will be ready to include nuclear energy in the system, we will be happy to assist as well.
Wow. Sound all very exciting opportunities for the future of Indonesia and Russia. All right. Now back to the energy sector, Madam Ambassador. Could you please provide an update, or maybe Mrs. Viren could also elaborate on this, on the planned refinery project in East Java? Maybe you can tell us how far it goes. Do you know any updates that you can share with us?
Yes, the project is progressing. The companies are in good contact, and we hope that this project, that's what Mr. Alexander mentioned about the project between Pertamina from Indonesian side and the Rosneft, and it's under control of our presidents, and we hope that it will progress steadily.
Yeah, I hope that this year we will see more concrete steps in this project.
All right. We look forward to more updates, of course.
But companies are working together.
Yeah.
Well, the two are part of a coin, yeah. In German, it is called zweiseitlich, yeah. The two are interrelated, yeah. And that's why we need to start from the history, yeah. That since 1965, following the fall of President Sukarno, and then continued with the changing leadership in Indonesia, it had made Indonesia more critical towards the Soviet Union. During that time, Soviet was portrayed in the world by its competitor as a fearful superpower, especially seeing a Soviet role at that time in Afghanistan, and also in Vietnam, and also in the Arab-Israeli conflict. But also in the mind of the Indonesians, we were surprised with the James Bond movies, which shows that Soviet was always on the bad side. Well, it went to the mind of the Indonesian people that the West was better than the Soviet Union. And then things happened following the fall of the Berlin Wall in late 1980s. And we in Indonesia witnessed the peaceful transition in Soviet Union and also the birth of Commonwealth of Independent States such as Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. And since then, we also witnessed that Russia has become more democratic. And we in Indonesia admire with the signing of the strategic partnership between our two countries. And then since then, optimism rise on the Indonesian side. Among others, Russian cities have become the source of inspiration for Indonesian modern cities in the future. But anyhow, there are homework to be done here. For example, in order to have a better relations, I wish to see a direct flight connecting one city in Indonesia with its partner in Russia. I wish to see a direct line connecting Sabang to any city in Russia. And then I really appreciate the opinion of Ibu Ambassador saying that there could be opportunities for cooperation in the areas of nuclear. And I admire Russian achievements in this regard. So I think it is time for Indonesia to be more open to the Russian offers. And I'm sure there are rooms for cooperation in the areas of health, energy, and in the areas of health, energy using nuclear for peaceful purposes, and also witnessing the possible incoming of the Russian businessmen. I think it is about time for Indonesians to invite Russian lecturers, teachers to teach Russian in Indonesian universities and schools. And also, I was challenged with the might of the Russian technology in the area of IT. So I think it is about time for the Indonesian to learn the Russian version of Google. I think it could be started from Pajajaran University here in Indonesia.
Thank you, Ms. Reza
Terima
Shah.
kasih, Ibu.
Thank you for your answer and for your insights as well. And as my guest, Mrs. Vinden, has said before, when it comes to trading, it's a two-way street. So next, I'm going to ask him, what are the possibilities for Indonesian businessmen to invest in Russia? That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. St. Petersburg, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and it looks so well preserved. The heritage, the culture is alive. We can see it through that video. Madam Ambassador, please enlighten us. Tell us more about this beautiful city, maybe more about the iconic landmarks that we have to see when we visit.
You know, St. Petersburg, indeed, it's so beautiful. You know, my mom is from St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay.
President Putin is from St. Petersburg. And of course, the history is very interesting. Our Tsar, Peter the Great, who resided in Moscow. Moscow has been the capital of Russia since 900 years ago.
Okay.
But comes 18th century, and the Tsar decides that the capital is too far away from Europe. And he wanted to modernize Russia, to make it more European. So he decides to build a new capital, like Nusantara.
Yeah.
And he builds it from zero. And he invites best architects from all over the world, including Italy, to build the sumptuous palaces.
Yes.
And that's why you can see these beautiful buildings all over St. Petersburg. And also it's very well planned because it's been built from zero.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, straight streets and big squares along the river of Neva. And that's why it has become one of the most beautiful cities. And the capital was there for 300 years. Then another government, a Republican government, comes to power in 1917 and decides that the capital is too close to Europe. So it goes back to Moscow. But still we Russians see St. Petersburg, it has also changed name. It was Petrograd, it was Leningrad, and it was St. Petersburg as our second northern capital. And also St. Petersburg is very famous for the blockade during World War II, when the Germans have blocked Leningrad at that time for 900 days.
Yes.
And no food, nothing came in. Hundreds of thousands of people died, and it's one of the most heroic and tragic episodes of World War II. My mother was a child and she nearly escaped when the blockade was nearly closed. My grandfather, who was an army officer, he came and he just threw the things in a car and took my grandmother and my mother away. My grandmother was a doctor and she didn't want to go. When they returned 3 years after 3 years, all their neighbors died. The whole house, it was a block of apartments, all their neighbors died of bombing or from starvation. So I always tell my daughter, sometimes you need to listen to your husband.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. So St. Petersburg is amazing, and there are the famous Winter Palace, which was the residence of our Tsars, but also there are 5 fantastic palaces in the outskirts of St. Petersburg. It was they were the summer palaces of our Tsars. They were destroyed during World War II, but now they have been restored. And of course, they are. If you go to St. Petersburg, you should visit these wonderful places.
Yeah, like for instance, the Hermitage.
Hermitage is the same as the Winter Palace.
Okay, that's the Winter Palace.
It's a the Hermitage is a part of the Winter Palace, but also like Peterhof. It's just 20 minutes ride from St. Petersburg, but it's so beautiful. Also, the best time to visit St. Petersburg is in June.
Okay, during summer.
During the so-called white nights, when it never gets dark, just for 30 minutes, and you can take walks in the middle of the night, which young people do, of course.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yes, it's in the northern part of Russia. That's why there's a lot of sunshine during the summer. And they say that people in St. Petersburg are much more gentle, polite, and cultured than in Moscow.
Do you agree with that?
To a certain extent.
Okay, now to go back to our investment topic. Like I said before we went into break, I would love to ask you your opinion to give our Indonesian businessmen. If they want to invest in Russia, what would you suggest to them? What would be the best sector for them to invest?
Okay, the first step is to call me.
Okay.
Yes, of course, our main goal is to support Russian companies here, but we are open to support any Indonesian company that wants to enter Russian market. The second step is, of course, we will propose to choose between special economic zones in Russia. Today in Russia we have more than 50 special economic zones in different parts of the country, and we have 4 types of special economic zones. The first one is, of course, industrial type. The second one is innovation type. The third one is tourism, and the fourth one is port and logistic roads. So the first step is to choose between these special economic zones. For example, in St. Petersburg, we have a very interesting special economic zone regarding the innovation and technology industry, because St. Petersburg is one of the student capital of our country. We have lots of universities, R&D centers, and so on, and that's why we have special economic zone inside the city. The same one in Moscow. In Moscow, we have 2 or 3 special economic zones, industrial type, innovation type as well. So you can choose what type of zone. The next step is, of course, to choose what concrete project you want to bring. And again, me and my office and Russian Ministry of Economic Development and Russian Ministry of Industry Development and Trading, we can support Indonesian partner what concrete project, what concrete technology can be successful in the market. And of course, we can help in all connections with the Russian large corporates that can help you, that can be your first partners, that can support you and follow you on the Russian market. And for example, only in these 50 special economic zones, for the last years, we attracted more than 10 billion foreign investment. And I think that it's a huge number, and we can work together more closely with Indonesian companies. We have foreign direct investments in these special economic zones from more than 40 countries, but still not Indonesia.
Yeah.
And we hope that next step, we can do it together.
Okay, so a lot of opportunities lies ahead. Okay, since we are hoping that we have some business people watching this program, of course, in Indonesia, how would you suggest, Madam Ambassador, for the business people in Indonesia to make the most of the Russian economy right now, to invest in Russia?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of, in the present global situation, you know, the translation of the word crisis, actually, the meaning is opportunity.
Yeah.
So every crisis opens new opportunities, and in Russia we see a lot of opportunities. So we would like to see investors from Indonesia, from ASEAN countries, of course, and after seeing this show, I'm sure you will receive a lot of phone calls from...
You have to put my phone number after.
From Indonesians who would like to do business in Indonesia. Once again, Russian economy has survived all the challenges and it is developing in a very stable way. Like Mr. Alexander mentioned, inflation is low. It is safe, which is also one of the consideration. We are not Islamophobic. It's also a consideration if you want to deal with the Muslim regions in our country, and 30% of our population are Muslims, and they're not migrants, they're people who've been living in Russia for centuries. You can explore, for instance, Tatarstan, which is part of Russia. It's a predominantly Muslim region with the capital of Kazan. And one of the nearest opportunities, actually, they're having a Kazan summit in May.
Yes, in May.
In May this year, with the business forums, and that would be also a good chance to visit Russia and to see what opportunities are there to explore.
Okay, sounds very interesting suggestions, Madam Ambassador. Thank you. Now, to go back to our video in this segment that tells us about St. Petersburg, you told us how that city was actually built from scratch. It was a capital that was built on exact precision to make sure they have the most comfortable city to live in. Could it be possible for Indonesia to maybe adapt some of the technology or some of the wisdom that Russian people have on building cities to build our new capital, Nusantara? What do you think, Madam Ambassador? Is there a possibility in there?
Well, absolutely. Of course, St. Petersburg was built in 17th century and 18th century, so
so a lot of wisdom.
The progress since then, there's a lot of progress, of course. But talking seriously, of course, we are interested, especially in the new project of the project of the new capital, and Moscow city government, I think, was in contact already. They visited Indonesia in the framework of G20 events, and they expressed interest in participating in the solutions, for instance, smart city solutions. That could be used in the new capital. As I told you, Moscow is one of the most comfortable cities. You can find Wi-Fi everywhere, you know, in the transportation, everywhere you go, actually. The public transportation system is very good. We're using a lot of electrical vehicles right now in Moscow. So I think there's a lot that we can share and also that we can learn from Indonesia.
All right, sounds very, very promising. I would like to ask the opinion of our guest who's still online, Pak Teuku Reza Shah. I understand you're very busy and you have a class to attend to very soon. So I'm just going to ask you one last question now. What are your takes on everything that Madam Ambassador has just said? And maybe you can also leave us with your hopes and wishes for the future of Indonesian and Russian relationship. Silakan, Pak.
Well, I'm aware that two of us are peace-loving nations. We could work together. Indonesian credibility is there. Among others, since 1955, we have proved ourselves to be a capable and credible global player. Our Asia-Africa conference, done in my city in Bandung, and along with its Bandung spirit, is until today known as a source of inspiration for achieving the world peace. And also today, Indonesia is the credible members of ASEAN, APEC, East Asia Summit, ASEM, IORA, BDF, and RCEP. I think Indonesia also, we are adhere to our constitution that when there are needs for peace in this world, Indonesian peacekeeping missions are always there. And I think Indonesian free and active foreign policy has been well tested in the United Nations General Assembly recently, that Indonesian position with regards to Russian special military operation in Ukraine, it was done by Indonesian and in accordance with the ideas for a better and a peaceful world. And then I think there are rooms for future cooperation, Indonesia and Russia in the area of business. I think the main homework needs to be done on the Indonesian side. I think we need to improve our qualities of good governance and good corporate governance. But if experts say rise and fall, no, for me, rise and rise. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pak Reza Shah, for your valuable time and insights. We wish you all the best. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, don't go anywhere. In the last segment, we learn more about Russia's tradition and culture. We'll be right back. We're back on Ambassador Press Club, and as I promised before, in this segment, we're going to learn more about Russia's tradition and culture and what we can enjoy as tourists when we visit Russia. To learn more, let's first watch this video. What a very interesting video. I would love to learn more about this dance from Madam Ambassador. Could you tell us what is this dance and where is it from in Russia?
Well, it's actually, I cannot tell you exactly the region, but it seems to me that it's from Central Russia. And it's a typical Russian folk dance, actually. Well, I've read the inscription, it's called Summer, but actually it can also be winter or well, spring or fall. But of course, it's better to dance in summer because on the open space, because it's warm, while in winter it's quite cold. But what I would like to mention, that the dancers you've seen, it's a very famous folk dance group in Russia, and they all have classical ballet training. That's why they dance so well.
Wow, I was once told everybody in Russia is born ballet dancers. They're so
Oh no, of
graceful.
course not.
They have these genes, specific genes that makes them so graceful, and there's so many famous ballet dancers are from Russia.
Absolutely, yeah, but you're right, actually. The flexibility, the sense of music, of course. You know, my mom, when she was a girl, she studied in the very famous Vaganov Ballet Academy in St. Petersburg, which have seen many graduates that are world famous, like, I don't know, Maya Plisetskaya or Anna Pavlova. And no, Maya Plisetskaya graduated from Moscow, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Anna Pavlova. But at the age of 15, it was already evident that she will not be a star. So she quit, became a diplomat, by the way. But ballet, of course, is one of the favorite arts in our family and in many families in Russia. When I'm in Moscow, I try to go to see a ballet at least once a month or once in 2 months, because it's, I think it's one of the best things in world culture.
Yes, I agree. It is also one of my bucket lists, actually, to see a ballet show in Russia, in Moscow.
You should, of course. If you visit Moscow or St. Petersburg, you need to see a ballet.
Okay. Now, I would love to talk more about tourism in Russia. But before we dive deeper into that, I have another video to show our viewers. Please enjoy.
To Sochi, this is Krasnaya Polyana Resort. Let's go.
This ski resort includes 3 levels. The highest point is 2,200 meters. At an altitude of 960 meters, there are a lot of shops, cafes, a ski training area with an instructor, a tubing trail, a place with husky dogs, and a children's area. Ski equipment rental is 1 level lower.
A beautiful video that shows us the beautiful mountainous region in Russia. Madam Ambassador, could you tell us more about what would be the best place in Russia to go skiing? Because a lot of Indonesians actually enjoy going skiing, especially in winter time. But you just told me before we start this segment that that's a specific video. The mountainous region actually shows one of the warmest part of Russia. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. This is the city of Sochi and the region of Sochi, which is on the Black Sea. And it's a unique combination of a warm climate on the warm weather on the beach, and then you can just climb several hundred meters and you can ski. Actually, that's why the 2014 Winter Olympics was held there,
in Sochi,
because of this combination of natural factors, I would say. But really, Sochi is amazing. It also has been developing since 2014, and the infrastructure was built there. So it's a favorite place for Russians to spend their holidays. Not only Sochi, they have a good ski resorts, but also in the Caucasus area, like Donbai,
Karacháyevo-Cherkessia.
Karacháyevo-Cherkessia. But you can come and ski in Moscow as well.
Really?
Yes, yes. Oh, in the winter, we have now in the center of Moscow a special ski lane. If you want to do mountain skis, you can do it, or cross skiing. You know, in school, every Russian schoolboy or schoolgirl, we have special lessons in skiing, and you can do it in Moscow.
Wow. For the avid skiers in Indonesia, there are quite a few. You might be surprised. How about you? If you can suggest Indonesians who would love to try out the skiing lanes of Russia, where should they go?
I was born in the north part of Russia.
Okay.
I was born in the Komi Republic. It's maybe 1,000 kilometers to the north of Russia, and we have minus 35, minus 40, almost maybe 6 months per year. And cross-country skiing, cross-country skiing was the best way to spend your time
Okay.
in this area. So of course you have to combine, but you can choose, for example, mountain skiing in Sochi, in Caucasus area, even in Moscow, even maybe 1 hour away from Moscow, we have some special resorts where you
Okay.
can try mountain. Of course, it's maybe 1,000 meters or 1,500 meters, but you still can try it even in Moscow region. But cross-country skiing is much more interesting, I think, from my
Okay.
perspective, because you can
You have
do
to
it.
have more experience. You have to be
No,
more
you
seasoned.
can
No?
go very. It's
Oh,
very
okay.
easy, and you can find a good teacher, and maybe I don't know, 1 lesson, 2 lessons. It's
Okay.
enough to start, and you can discover a very interesting landscape of our country doing cross-country skiing.
Okay, so doing sports while sightseeing, and the site was majestic, if
Yes.
I can tell by
Yeah,
anything
sure.
from the video. Now, of course, one of the problem is for Indonesian tourists to come to Russia is the lack of flights that are, available right now. So that's why Mr. Reaza also mentioned it would be great if we can have more direct flights from Indonesia to Russia. Do you see this happening anytime soon, Madam Ambassador?
Yes, we'd love to have direct flights. We used to have a direct flight from Moscow to Denpasar before
okay.
COVID started. It was
Yeah.
a regular flight 3 times a week, and we've seen a dramatic increase in tourist arrivals from Russia to Bali. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it stopped. I know that there have been contacts between the airlines and airport authorities of Indonesia. So I would not say that it will happen tomorrow,
Okay.
but in a longer perspective, I hope
Okay.
it can happen.
All right. Now, to close our program, I would love to hear your hopes and wishes for the future of Indonesian and Russian relationship. May we start with you, Mr. Alexander?
Okay, I will try to say the words that our Madam Ambassador said. It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's a great motor of our bilateral relationships in economy and business side. And I hope that we will see more B2B contacts this year and further. And thank you so much for this program, and thank you so much for the invitation. And I totally believe that after this program, I will have lots of phone calls to my office. Thank you so much for it.
Yeah, just stand by your phone.
Yeah, sure,
Mr.
sure.
Alexander.
I
Make
will
sure
be nearby.
we won't miss
Of
any
course.
of those calls. Madam Ambassador, please.
Yes, I would echo what Mr. Alexander is saying. It's not enough. We can do much more together. And again, this present situation opens a lot of opportunities for our businesses, for our people actually to come together. Also, I would like to say that we have exchanges in education. That is also very important. Right now we have around 800 Indonesian students studying in Russia, and we can provide more scholarships. So if you want to know Russia, if you want to study Russian language, please, you are most welcome to come to Russia and to study in our country. I would love to see more cultural exchanges. I would love to see more artists from Russia coming to Indonesia, and I'm sure it will happen. And of course, our countries, maybe they can be, they are far away geographically, but we have so many things in common. And I think that's a perfect basis for our relation growing stronger.
Madam Ambassador, Ms. Alexandra Svirnin, thank you so much for your hopeful assessments, and thank you for joining us here in the studio. Thank you, I appreciate it. Spasibo.
Thank you so much.
Terima kasih.
Terima
Спасибо.
kasih. Spasiba. All right, thank you so much for watching Ambassador Press Club with me, Siska Becker. I look forward to seeing you in our upcoming programs with more special guests on Ambassador Press Club, only on TVRI World. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
City. Moscow holds a special place in the world's imagination. Opulent, spectacular, and grandiose, Moscow has been at the epicenter of some of the history's most pivotal moments. It echoes with stories of triumph, tragedy, and innovation. Stories of legendary tsars and literary greats, political revolutions, and the international space race that changed the world forever. Today, Moscow continues to fascinate. Thoroughly modern and with a European air, it has a population of